You're still watching The Conversation, coming to you live on Lagos Television. This morning, our conversation will be on how we can advocate for a Nigeria that works for all, a Nigeria where everybody will have equal opportunities to achieve their dreams. But how will this be possible is the very big question this morning. And we have joining us Sheikh Ibrahim Olaniyi, a moral advocate, to take us through this particular topic of discussion on The Conversation this morning. It's our pleasure to have you.
Thank you very much.
All right, let's start from looking at the composition of Nigeria as presently constituted. As a country, what do you think is wrong with us as we speak? Before we begin to advocate for a better Nigeria.
There is nothing wrong with us. We are people, and our country is a country that is composed of people of different ethnicity, different tradition, different upbringing, and different orientation. And as you can see, this has never been a clog in the wheel of progress for most developed countries. In fact, the reason why the European countries are doing what is called brain drain to African countries is because they lack what those Africans have. You only search for what you have. What you don't have. So, if they don't have it, they search for it. They find a means of getting it. And I thought by now it should have stopped. But in fact, the search is now intensified to a great extent, so, to the point that advertisement is being made here and there. What is wrong with us is wrong with us as individuals, not as a country. Every leader in position is either being influenced by some invested interests that are insincere.
But there will always be interests. No matter where you are in the world.
Hold on. There is this statement by one of these American presidents. I can't recall his name. He said there is no permanent friend, no permanent foe, but there's always a permanent interest. So, knowing that, I'm not against what you just said, that there will always be interest. What I am saying is the interest should not be to a selfish end. Not, I must get what I want, not caring whose horse is gored. I hope you understand what I'm saying. Well. For instance, at the beginning of this government, I will focus on this government because this is a current happening. At the beginning, people were suffering. People were languishing. There was what is akin to famine because there was food, but there was not enough money to buy it. But we saw the leaders, the people in the Senate and all that, living lavish lives and even complaining that it's not enough. And they care less about how the citizens who are providing this revenue to you for use, how they are languishing.
In poverty.
In poverty, in penury. So what is wrong with us is wrong with us as individuals. But you know, a society starts from an individual.
Sure.
Now, if an individual is corrupt and is able to gather a team of like minds and they continue to expand, the society becomes corrupt. Even those who were willing to do what is right will not feel the motivation to do it. They will not be willing to do it. To what point are we suffering? After all, those we are trying to help out, they are the ones ruining us. So if that is the situation, then things won't work. Anyone put in position of authority will take laws into his or our own hands. And we have gotten to a point of no return the moment a certain government in this country, not the present one, decided to start selling out all the statutory corporations we have in the country.
So Nigeria as an entity, we do not have any problem.
We don't.
Okay. But is
But
the
we,
people...
we do have resources. We do have resources. We have human resources. We have mineral resources. We have everything that could make a nation great. If at all Nigeria as an entity has any problem, it is more of foreign influence. A professor has been quoted to have said that you have everything we need. You are brilliant, your soil is fertile, and you have mineral resources. You have everything that we need. If we leave you alone, you will become another Japan.
But
You will supersede us. So we will not leave you alone. We will continue to give you problems to solve so that you don't get your bearings and you don't have room for development. But if your enemy is saying that to you, I believe that should motivate you to prove the enemy wrong.
I like the fact that you just mentioned motivation now. If Nigeria as an entity is not in any way problematic, but the people there are the problems.
Yes.
What about the quality of leaders that we have had over the years? What has been their role?
It still comes to the same thing, to the same point. These
Because
leaders,
if we are so blessed,
these leaders,
like you have identified, we have had leaders over the years who have squandered our commonwealth in this country. And that is why we are still crawling in terms of development.
Yes. That is where our problem is. But that is not the problem of Nigeria. Believe me, leaders will go, leaders will come, but the citizens are the ones who will be feeling the pang, the pain of whatever these people are doing. Because we will forever remain a crawling giant. How do you refer to a country as a giant and it continues to crawl? For over 50 years, it continues to crawl. All these people, the past government that you are talking about, it's irrelevant to start discussing them now because they are not the ones in position now.
But we can't talk about the future without yesterday.
I know. What concerns us is to itemize where those in the past have wronged the country so that the person who is presently on that seat, will make corrections, will find a way to rectify what has gone wrong. So, but if mentioning what those in the past had done, like the privatization of statutory corporation I just mentioned, was done by a government, not the one on seat now, by one of the past governments. Another thing done by one of the past government is the indulgence. The indulgence that led to corruption, that led to greed.
Who were those indulged?
I will let you know. Those who were indulged were those who have access to quality education at that time. And they lived such opulent lives, and they will go to the village to visit their relatives who were farmers and, menial laborers. And the parents of the youngsters there will, want their children
To be like them.
to be like that. So a farmer dealing with cocoa will now consider cocoa as not rich, not money-generating endeavor anymore. A farmer that deals with groundnut, and so on and so forth, they all want to start putting on tie and going into cool offices with AC and driving beautiful cars and living in luxurious homes rather than continue tilling the land and providing food for the populace. That indulgence also gives them the power to embezzle. Once they are there in that office, when I was in secondary school, there was a teacher that taught us accountancy, and he said there are two types of accountants. You are either a chartered, that is CH, a chartered accountant, if you studied very well and you know how to make your book balanced. Or you are a chartered
SH.
Yes, a chartered accountant, if you are the one that has based all his life on integrity, honesty, and all that. What is it teaching us? We were in the classroom. We were supposed, some of us would have been in offices now that they are probably implementing what the man said, because they don't want to be chartered accountants. So if the elders are the ones ruining the future of the youngsters, government borrowing money, large amount of money that is not even needed. And the main ingredient of a workable government is missing even till now in our present government. And that is the law of equivalent exchange. The law of equivalent exchange is when someone has done something that will bring greatness to the country, that person ought to be, appreciated
Or rewarded.
and rewarded. And if someone, no matter how highly placed, has done something to tarnish the image of the country, that person has to have a commensurate punishment for the crime committed. But now the opposite is the case.
If the opposite is the case, you have said so much about the quality of leaders that we have had over the years. What about the followers?
Yes. I recall
Are
I
they
had...
wise enough to engage their leaders in such a way that the leaders will have no choice than to sit up? We have had elections in this country wherein people just take some stipend and they sell their conscience. And at the end of the day, the politicians will get into these offices and they will tell you that I've paid you off.
I'm so glad that the person I'm speaking to is in communications. So you probably would have read these two novels, A Tale of Two Cities and George Orwell's Animal Farm. So you will know which of these two novels is being enacted in our country. Because if it were A Tale of Two Cities, the masses will dictate to the people in power at the risk of their lives that this is what we want. And until that is done, there will be no change. But then when we come to Animal Farm, and that is a very, very meticulously, arranged society. We have the squealers there who would come and sweet talk everybody. And what they refuse to accept in ab initio, they simply accept it based on the convincing squealing. Then we have the boxers who doesn't know what is going on in the country. Or whatever happens, if I work harder, I will eventually make it. I will eventually make it, and eventually such people, they die struggling, And then we have the Napoleons who would come with good intention to, reform the society. But then we also have, we have the snowballs who will come with a view to reforming the society, and then the Napoleons who have dogs, who have been fed in secret, and they are to come out. In fact, that is what we have now. Because if you say something that is too strong against the government, you stand the risk of being towed away. And then you'll be declared missing, and your people will be looking for you. That won't stop some of us.
I'm speaking the truth.
No, it won't. Because if I don't say it here, when I get to my mosque on Friday, I will say it to the people. And the environment I live in is where they live in.
All right, we have amplified so many problems facing us as a country, but if indeed we are so determined to make the country work for all, where people will have equal opportunities to achieve their dreams, then what are those things that we need to put in place for Nigeria to work for everybody, irrespective of your tribe, irrespective of your color or your religion?
First thing, we have to eschew selfishness. As individuals, the government may continue to be self, but if we want to drag ourselves out of this new colonialism, then we should forget about selfishness. Because the idea of you reap what you sow is a motivation for you to be productive. Not just to continue consuming what others are producing. It is not impossible for you to also produce in your geographical location.
Are you speaking to the tax reform bills?
I believe you already know that.
So let's expatiate more on that. If indeed we want a Nigeria that will work for everybody.
I mean, I've said all there is to say about it. What there is to say about it is not to be selfish. If you are not selfish and not insincere, you should know that whatever comes out of your soil, you should benefit more from it than any other person from any other area. And that, I once recall a time when I was young, when we were still spending coins. There was a coin that has groundnut on one side and groundnut pyramid on the other side. And that groundnut was being produced from the geographical location of the people I'm talking about. And then we have cocoa on another coin. It's from another part of Nigeria. Now, if everyone was instructed to go back home now and start farming, believe me, there will be genocide. The reason why there will be genocide is that most arable lands have been sold to those who develop it and turn it into houses, and they have been settling down there. They have been living there. The head of each family has embezzled what belongs to everybody and taken it.
And generations yet unborn.
Yet unborn. So if we all agree, okay, fine, we are going back to, that is why I said we reached a point of no return. If we are to go back and start farming now, what we can do is...
You have mentioned selfishness.
Three things. Eschew selfishness. Learn to say no.
To what?
To whatever policy, whatever government is bringing up that will make our life miserable. We should learn to say no. And we should say no in such a way that the whole world will support us.
In a society where people are not allowed to protest?
There is a way you do it. Of course, they will come out with their guns and tanks. But one thing I am glad about is that whatever appears on the screen of a television, in a television station, has the power to go round the world now. And if it doesn't have that power, it can be on the phone and it will go viral. The whole world will see it. And those who have the power to, counter this kind of policy, they would say what they are supposed to say. Okay, let's take for instance, sometime something good will come. But because it doesn't agree with your ideology, you have apathy towards it. For instance, the coup that happened in a country in Africa, I could recall a certain president saying he was going to send soldiers to go there and remove the junta. That junta, the president now, is now being laden with accolade by world leaders.
Excuse me.
Because he didn't come there to embezzle their money. He came to reform. And he didn't come as a toothless dog, like a snowball. He came with force.
And with a vision.
And with a vision. And he was going to make sure he completes his mission before he would even hand it over to whoever is going to take the next baton.
Okay, will making Nigeria work for all now also include tinkering with our constitution as it is presently?
Yes, because that constitution is the instrument with which They have been robbing us blind.
It started with we, the people of Nigeria.
That is what I said. There is, even when we have we, there is always a they and a we. We have the oppressors and we have the oppressed. And we are within the same country. And are you not surprised to find that most of the time when they see that a certain part of the Constitution is going to hook them in the neck like a noose, they think about amendment and they start amending the Constitution. And so you would think that the Constitution contains any right for the masses. No. Where it states a certain right for the masses, it has nullified that same right on another chapter.
So how do we correct that in such a way that everybody will have equal opportunities?
We can...
Because fairness and justice is key to the survival of any nation.
Yes. What pains me most is that some of us who are masses now, who are suffering the consequence of these people's action, when we get there, instead of making endeavors to
correct the wrongs,
we become like them, or even worse. Because by the time you get there, you would find certain people who will threaten you. Come, we are the ones in charge here.
No.
We are the movers and shakers. And you can recall a government whose president was almost killed. I mean, all because during his first term, he tried to live up to his pledge, his oath. And before you know it, towards the end of that, he spent the rest of the term, mostly part of it, in London, receiving treatment. And when he came back, in fact, he became, yes, whatever is. I recall an interview that he was given on channels, and they enumerated all the woes that are betiding the citizens of the country. The Fulanis who were killing people and destroying farms and doing horrible things, and all other things like that. And when he was asked to respond to that question, he said, "These are terrible times." And he kept quiet. You know, I mean, after such a statement, "These are terrible times," one would expect him to come up with
a solution.
A solution. Then you get to know that either he is not willing for self-preservation, or he is being threatened already. The wife said the government has been hijacked by some unknown entity.
A very vital question before we let you go this morning. How does the National Orientation Agency of Nigeria fit into our quest for a new Nigeria where everybody will have equity, fairness, and equal opportunities? Because recently, the National Orientation Agency of Nigeria launched the National Values Charter. How does that align with our quest for a better Nigeria?
As you can say, as you had said, national orientation. If you don't know what you need, you won't vie for it. If you don't know what is wrong with you, you won't use medication for it. So, the first step towards making things better in the country is orientation. But this orientation should not be limited to those who are out of school, who are working alone. and it should be widespread. It should be pervasive. It should be pervasive. That is how it would yield more fruit. Already, the developments we are observing now, even though it has not been actualized yet, most things they just pay lip service to it and then dump it. I'm not talking about the organization, I'm talking about the government. Now, this National Orientation Organization could be a force that will be monitoring, that will be policing the people in government. Could be a force that would threaten them that if you are not doing it right, we are not taking it from you. If it wins the support of a large number of the citizens of this country, it could really make a difference. But I would just need to warn us of a mistake. We should not lose sight of our goal. The goal is to make Nigeria better, create equity, make life easier for every citizen in Nigeria. Because if you lose sight of that goal, only obstacles will remain.
All right.
Excuses that will not let it happen will remain. And some other people will hijack it to their own betterment. I could recall when Nigerian Labour Congress was so very active, even to the risk of their lives and their families. But then at a time, it became a political party.
All right, Sheikh Ibrahim Olaniyi, that's a very good point to end our conversation this morning on advocating for a better Nigeria that will work for all, irrespective of your religion, tribe. And it did say right here this morning that this particular task is not for the government alone. We as followers also have a germane role to play in transforming our dear country, Nigeria. We must thank you very much for your time on the conversation this morning.
You're welcome.
All right, we'll take a very quick break on the program. When we return, it will be time for Adebimpe and Joy to take you through what they have for you on Conversation Lagos. We'll be right back.